Hello, hello, hello. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in, everybody. Welcome to the second part of our amazing life together. Not live, life. We've been together all day. If you were here earlier for the live, welcome back. If you're new to the channel, welcome on in. Get your feet propped up, get yourself a snack, get yourself a drink. You might need it. You never know, you might need it. So welcome in, everybody. I do have my crews with me tonight. I have two out of the three. One of them got my blanket. The dog over here. She was her bed was being taken by the cat. So if you're new to the channel, you're probably like, she has animals too. And I'm like, yeah, the animals are here. They're always here. I don't know what it is with the dogs wanting to be in this room now all of a sudden, because I've been streaming for 2 years. Last month was 2 years, and they were never here, except for in the very beginning. I would stream in front of my bed, like my old bed, and they would like maybe be up on the bed or something. I would get lucky, but now they're always in here. I just need to get them their own camera. Well, I have a camera for them. I just need to hook it up and like put it at a good view, Then you can look at the dogs. But welcome in, Mary Beth. I knew that you were here earlier today listening in, but you were at work. I figured I said, she's probably working. But we were here all day. Hey, Catherine. Hey, Captain. And I heard that Sarah Boone zipped up the suitcase. Like we missed that part. Because after I got off, I was going to listen to the last hour, and my brain hurt, guys. I'm not going to lie. It hurt. So we're going to go over all that tomorrow and tomorrow's testimony tomorrow. Hey, Sirius. Hey, Frenchie. Welcome on in, everybody. Welcome on in. It's a new one for you? This one's... Well, you came in at a good point. I mean, he's going on trial now. Hey, Faith. We've been waiting a long time. This is another case that's been 5 years. We've been waiting longer than that, I think, actually, hasn't it? I think it's been longer than that. 2017. 7 years? Wow. I didn't even realize it had been that long. Really. I really didn't. I've been following this case ever since it started, ever since it happened, ever since these little girls. And the night that they went missing, for some reason in my head, and I live over here in Ohio, but I have it in my head that they were on the news, like searching. I don't know why I feel like I remember that. But it could have been a couple of days after, in all actuality. I was going to buy a magnifying glass today, actually. I should have checked to see how much that thing was. I've been looking at it at Target forever. I should have just bought it. I think it's like part of last year, or not last year, but last season or whatever. It's just a magnifying glass, and it's gold, and it's super cute. I think it would be kind of funny. Like ironic, because I have one eye. I could hold it up whenever I need to see things really well. Ashley, how are you doing? How's everything going on in your neck of the woods? I saw JLR's been covering. Have you seen that? He's been covering Asheville. He's there. Go search him down. Go hunt him down. Say, hey, JLR. Hey, Lori. Welcome in. Hey, Toby Shanoodle. With a name like that, you have to say it. Amy, where have you been? Oh, take a break from the crazy. I understand. It's good to have you back, though. It's good to see you. And you changed your picture. And thank you. Thank you for the happy birthday. I appreciate that. I went backwards. So I'm 37 now. I'm supposed to be 39, but I'm going to be all confused. My mom actually did that. 1 year. She thought she was older than what she actually was. Her boss had to tell her, she's like, no, she was like 46 and she thought she was 47 or something. Made her whole life, I mean, that'd be really amazing. It is a Seth-free zone. Yes. KCG, it is. It's safe to come in. Hey, Doodlebug. Were you in here earlier, Doodlebug? Because people, I swear, were saying your name, and I was like, I don't see Doodlebug. Maybe Doodlebug done deleted me or something. I thought maybe you blocked me. You lived in Fort Wayne when they went missing? They were on the news that night showing searches, but they stopped early because it got cold. Yes. Okay, Amanda, thank you. So I did see it probably, most likely, on the news. Because I remember seeing it like the first night and they were searching and they had like flashlights out there and then they were going to call off the search. Not like they weren't going to call it off. They were still going to do like overhead, stuff and like that they could do, like the search and rescue teams could do, but nothing that, individuals could go out there and actually do. Okay. I thought that. Hey, Wizard Walt. I'm just really slow tonight. Hey, reverse images. Welcome in. Hey, Callie Dime. It's good to see you guys. Hey, Linda. Hey, welcome in. I'll get to the bottom here. And if I didn't say hi to you, hello, welcome in. It's good to see everybody. Good to see you guys. We're going to cover a different case. We haven't covered Delphi in a while. And Nash Native better be swinging on in here because it was requested. It's been requested from her for a while. She'll be in. I'm like, she'll be in. I know she'll want to hear all about it. We're basically going to go and cover, they're on day 4. So we're going to cover the first couple of days of the trial tonight. And then if we get done reasonably fast, maybe we could do all 4 days. But if not, I'll come back on during the day tomorrow and cover brand new. Nancy Grace just did another podcast. So she did a video and that's what we're going to watch tonight. But let me double check because she just posted a 4-minute video onto YouTube. And when Nancy does that, that means Nancy did a podcast. So I'm thinking she's going to do it kind of like the Alec Murdaugh trial where she does like pumps them out because she does like 2 a day. She'll do like the first half of court from like, early morning till noon and then noon till 5. And that's what she did for Alec Murdaugh. And she probably made a killing off of that. Choice of bad words. Sorry. Really bad choice of words. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's going to be, it's going to be good. Okay. Yep. It's going to be good. I'm glad that you caught alive too. Proud Mimi, welcome in. It's good to see everybody. If you guys missed our 7-hour live earlier today and you get bored and you want to hear Sarah Boone's testimony, make sure you go check out my video. But before we get into this tonight, I'll just tell you this. There's about 50 breaks. Her lawyer, Owens, is terrible. So just skip through the breaks. I mean, it's not that exciting through the breaks. We're just chit-chatting and we're not even really chit-chatting. I'm like showing videos and stuff. So you can skip through all that to get to her testimony even. I should have time-stamped it for you guys. My honest opinion, though, I think Richard Allen did it. Some bitch. Yeah, I think he did it. But my mind might be I have questions. So I'm really thinking it was just Richard Allen and Richard Allen alone. But I can't remember off the top of my head earlier something, and I should remember, but I've been reading so much about the case. There was something I heard earlier and I was like, wait a minute. And I was like, could you do that with one person? So I'm still out. I'm still out, on it, but we're not going to get any more. I don't think we're going to get any more evidence. From the opening statements, it kind of seemed like we got it all. Like I thought there was going to be some groundbreaking stuff. That's all I can say. But I mean, there are things though that are happening that I didn't know about before at all. There was I was listening to earlier, how they said that there was like ruins around their heads and things of that nature. They went to the crime scene. They were showing pictures, I'm sorry, of the crime scene. And multiple people were saying they didn't see that. Even the guy off the defense diaries said he didn't see that. And I was like, wow, because he's, a defense attorney. So he's usually pretty careful with his words, So I figured what we would do is we would start off with this article that I found. and it's going to go over like the first couple of days. And then we'll move on to Nancy, and we'll listen to that new video. And then there are some new stuff that's come out. And what we could do is just like hit a couple of the big things that have come out at the end of the live as well, because there are some things. Also, well, I'll show you as I'm reading this. That might help. That might help. And you guys let me know what you guys think of this case. So basically, I should maybe give you a little bit more of what we're going to be talking about. Friday, October the 18th, that started opening statements for Richard Allen's trial. He was arrested in October 26, 2022, I believe. The unalivings happened on February the 14th, February 13th, February 14th. The girls went out to the Monon High Bridge. They were having like a teacher in service that day, so they were out of school. They wanted to go to the Monon High Bridge to go hang out and be teenagers. And basically that's what they were doing when a man approached them on this bridge that's extremely scary. I've been on it myself. I've been to it. And I haven't been on the bridge. I've been on the brand new bridge in front of it, but they're like right in front of each other. Extremely scary stuff. Like those girls were very brave. So as this man's approaching them, Liberty German takes out her smartphone and she starts recording, and she records a 43-second clip. And after reading through some stuff, I guess that they showed the clip to the jury today, and you couldn't see him really like in the clip without like altering the clip. I don't know. So I guess he was that to me makes it seem like he was further away than maybe we thought. Maybe they enhanced it, and that's what, maybe it brought him closer looking. Like it looked like he was closer because, making it more bold. I don't know for sure, but we're going to hear more about it. I'm sure of it. I just thought we were going to have more of a clip. I thought we were going to get like just something, his voice, a picture. But then it was like where the phone was found, it was found like underneath Libby. So I don't know. I feel like it should have been seen. Like, I don't know. They just didn't take much care, I guess. Or it was found either underneath her or beside her, according to the memorandum that we read. We did read all 156 pages of that thing. That was amazing. I wonder if they did do voice analysis. There was one, I wondered if he had went there like prior to this, if Richard Allen he's local, he lives close. He lives very close in proximity to this bridge and this trail. But I know a lot of people that live in towns that don't go on their walking paths like ever. So I wonder if he went there often, or if this is like something that he has never done. Do you know? And they could maybe put him there with like his phone, like, look in all of these years, like this whole year, I don't know, you take a whole year and be like, he's only been there one time. That could be suspicious. Or what if he's there a bunch? And that could be good for the defense. Like, look, he's there all the time. Just like Kohlberger out driving at night, gazing up at the stars on the fall or on the winter foggy night. Close the poll. I forget what I even put the poll as. Still not sure. We got a lot of you. Anybody else want to vote? Well, this is a closed poll. So I put, do you think Richard Allen is guilty? 35 yes. It'll pop up in a minute. Or 34% yes, 34% still not sure, 30% no. Those are the kind of polls I like. I like it when it's like that. Like we're all thinking a little differently, and it's good to be like that. Harrowing crime scene photographs. of the brutalized bodies of Liberty German and Abigail Williams lying where they were found amid brush and woodland have been shown in court in Delphi today. And this was written yesterday. For certain words, I have to like censor myself. So anything that's like BLOOD, I'm just going to say red. We're just going to say red. So that way YouTube doesn't hate me. It's incredibly dumb. As the highly anticipated trial of Richard Allen, accused of murdering both Indiana teens, enters its second week, jurors were brought face to face with the reality of the violent act at the heart of these proceedings. As crime scene investigator Sergeant Jason Page narrated the images under questioning from State Attorney James Luttrell Jr., the court was shown 42 crime scene pictures, including more than 20 images of the girls' bodies. The photographs appeared in relentless succession on a large screen positioned in front of the jury. They will not be released to the public. Thank goodness, because we do not want them. We do not need to see them. They need to be burned after trial. I mean, in my opinion, I wish there were things that you could just get rid of like that, like to where nobody could ever have access to it to somehow leak it. I wouldn't want that. Thanks for becoming a member, Proud Mimi. Thank you. I just happened to look over and I was like, that caught my eye. Wow, look how beautiful. I've seen this picture a gazillion times, all of these. Not this one as much, Libby. This is the bridge. This is before they redid half of it. So half of this is now repaved, or it's paved. It has guardrails. It has cameras positioned, and they're solar powered cameras. It's really done up to where people can go there and actually walk and not be terrified, because that's just terrifying. Oh, here, I'll just read this. It says the court has shown 42 crime scene photos, including more than 20 images of Libby German, 14, and Abby Williams, 13. At one point, the image on display jumped on without warning, casting a shocking close-up of Libby's bloodied face, or just said it, onto the screen and provoking audible gasps from the family in the public gallery. Oh, that's terrible. That's terrible. Okay, yeah. State Attorney James Luttrell Jr. apologized, but said there was no escaping the horror of the scene. In the image, Libby's eyes are blacked out. Her head is turned to the left. Leaves and twigs are stuck in her hair, and the red has dried where it ran heavily over her cheek, her nose, her eye. A brutal gash was clearly visible at her throat. The girls lay less than 5 feet apart. Okay, that was my question. Hold on. Let me write this down so I don't forget. Okay. The girls lay less than 5 feet apart, their feet angled towards each other. Libby 14 was nude, her skin pale as porcelain, stained with red on her hands, her thigh, her chest, throat, and face. She was covered with twigs, which crisscrossed at her throat, and one heavy bough that lay lengthwise across her left side. Abigail 13 lay to her right, dressed in a mix of her own and her friend's garments, wearing sneakers but no socks. Her jeans, Sergeant Page noted, appeared damp. One female juror teared up. Allen looked on intently, giving no physical indication of the emotions the images might be stirring. He occasionally took notes. At one point, the image on display jumped without warning. That's what we just heard. Casting a shocking close-up of Libby's bloodied face into the screen and provoking audible gasps from the family in the gallery. We've read all this. But it just says that he apologized. He said, but there's no escaping the horror of the scene. In the image, Libby's eyes are blacked out. Her head is turned to the left. Leaves and twigs are stuck in her hair, and the red has dried where it ran heavily over her cheek, nose, and eye. A brutal gash was clearly visible at her throat. Both girls the court has heard had their throats slit several times. Okay, that's my question. And I got my answer. Okay. Listen to me for 1 minute. I don't know how I'm going to explain this, but how would they both have multiple wounds, right? Who's going to stand there while they're doing this to somebody's throat, multiple times? Apparently the first time is not working because I think it was a box cutter. Second time ain't working. Third time, it's multiple times they're saying. So while let's say he went after Libby first, wouldn't Abby run? I know they're best friends and I know that, but your fight or flight instinct would come in, right? So even if she went to fight, I guess that would be the way. Unless she was a little fighter and she stood to fight, I would have pieced out. I'm sorry I'm sorry to my best friend. I love her so much. Sorry, Ashley. But I think that the trauma, or I don't know, maybe I would freeze. I don't know. I think the trauma would probably make me freeze. I would probably freeze up and not do anything. But what do you guys think? She may have just froze. Yeah. And I think the reason why her clothes were wet was because she went into the water. I think she tried to go into the water to get away from him at one point, maybe. See, because then I thought maybe more than one. That's what was kind of getting my mind to go over this area. And I'm like, no, I think this would be one person. I've always thought one person. But this is a case. Look how he used to look. Whenever he was on the I'm not going to eat, I'm not going to sleep diet, I'm going to throw my tantrums. Yeah. Right, Mia? My dog just sighed. So it says, in another, Abby lies like a discarded doll, clearly lifeless. Her wounds are less visible as she is mostly clothed. But the awful truth is unmistakable in a close-up of the younger of the two best friends, which shows the livid red of the red stains on her throat, at her throat. This is when he was in the prison and he was right after he confessed to his wife. He went on this hunger strike. He was doing a hunger strike and doing all the things. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that picture, because if I was in jail, I wouldn't be eating. I'd be skinny as hell too. I'd be a frail, guilty or not guilty. Just telling you, I wouldn't do good. I'm not made for jail. I'm not made for jail. Yeah, he's a smaller guy. I think he's 5'6", something like that. 5'6". I don't know how much he weighed here. Maybe 140, 130. That chain probably weighs more than he does. A large area of leaves and rough ground just below where the girls lay was Sergeant Page testified, still saturated with red the following day, and there was some red found on the trunk of a nearby tree. And Abby's body, nor Libby's body, no one's body was up against a tree that was the F ruined. The tree was down further from that. And I never knew that until today. Showing the desolate scene where the girls spent the last moments of their lives comes as a continuation of the state's efforts to present a thorough picture of the search for and discovery of their bodies. It is part of their bid to close the door on the defense's claim that despite searches of the area, the bodies of the girls were not found until the day after they were reported missing because they were not there. Instead, it is the defense contention they were abducted, taken elsewhere, then returned to the site of Deer Creek in the early hours of Tuesday, February 14th, where they were murdered. In his opening statement for his client, defense attorney Andrew Baldwin also sought to dismiss the state's claim that a bullet found on the scene had been cycled through Allen's Sig Sauer's gun as junk science. In fact, he suggested the .40 caliber bullet found on the ground on the scene was more likely dropped by one of the many law enforcement officers who he stated had compromised the scene. Now I'm going to say this. I would have believed you, buddy, if you would have said he went hunting in that area, because that bullet, I found out today, was face down. So it's not recycled. So there's a bullet in this shell casing. It was face down in the ground when it was found, right? Like it was pressed into the ground, and all you could see was like the Sig Sauer, like the numbers on it. So to me, that sounds almost like somebody dropped it a while ago and somebody stepped on. I mean, eventually somebody stepped on it. That's what I would think, right? But if you're the prosecution, you could say they were over there and they were like scurrying around. That's when it fell out of the gun. And, he stepped on it during the unalivings of Abby and Libby. I mean, it could go a lot of ways. And I think that's what the problem is here, is that we can go so many different ways with this. Thanks, Crimson Moon, for becoming a member. Thank you. Thank you. Hey, Dreamcatcher. Welcome in, everybody. Hey, True Crime Lullabies. Don't forget to hit that like button for your girl. We're getting ready to watch Nancy. I'm just reading through this article real quick, and we'll be going over that way. Okay, so where are we at? This morning, both prosecutors Nick McLeland who questioned the first witness of the day, Carroll County Detective Darren, I cannot pronounce his last name, Giancola, one of the first officers on the scene, and Luttrell, in his questioning of Sergeant Page, made a point of asking the officers what weapon they carried that day. Let's see if it'll tell me on here what his last name is. John Cola. The girl was off. Answered that he carried a Glock 17, which took 9mm bullets. For his part, Page carried a Glock 19, which also takes 9mm bullets. The only other weapon Page said he ever carried was a .45 caliber Sig Sauer, but he told the court he only carries that when in uniform. Okay. This is the bridge. I guess Richard Allen's house was super close. I didn't even know where I would have went there. I forgot the address of where his house was, and I didn't want to be super creepy anyway, so I didn't go by there, but I might have went by if I would have known where he lived. Just because this was this was last year. It wasn't a lot of people were there. We went to the Monon High Bridge and there was 4 people. No, we saw 4 people, I think. 4 or 5 altogether. Wasn't very busy. Oh, you're welcome, Crimson Moon. Thanks for being here. 9mm, very common. Yeah, very common. And hey, Psyops. I'm going to say hey to you earlier. I do that all the time. I tell people, I'll say hi with my eyes. People, I'll say their name. People are I'm not paying enough attention to the screen to know that you're looking at me. So on Saturday, when I heard this, I was like, what are they talking about Saturday? So on Saturdays, they're doing half days. I guess they're trying to get this trial done and over with. I don't know. But on Saturday, jurors heard key testimony about when and where Liberty German and Abigail Williams' bodies were found by the man who discovered them. Local man Patrick Pat Brown found the girls' bodies around noon on Tuesday, February 14th, 2017, having joined community search efforts earlier that day. Taking the stand on Saturday morning, he struggled to maintain his composure as he told the court, "I looked and at first I thought they were mannequins. Then I said, 'We found them. Please call the police.'" It must be something in people's minds that goes to, heck no, that's not what I'm seeing. This is a mannequin. Because we hear that a lot, in cases. I thought it was a mannequin. Had no idea it was a body. I thought that was a mannequin, I think that's because our brains don't want to compute what we're seeing. It's terrible. This guy was by himself, man. Libby and Abby went missing on the afternoon of Monday, February 13th, 2017, but their bodies were not found until the following day near the Monon High Bridge Trail in Delphi. Initial search efforts were focused on an area downstream from Monon High Bridge on which Libby and Abby were walking. Carroll County investigator Steve Mullen, who was chief of police in Delphi at the time of the murders, explained the law enforcement was working on the assumption that the teens had met with an accident and perhaps fallen from the bridge, in which case they would have been washed downstream. And I remember hearing that in the beginning of this case. Like, they were searching downstream. They thought something could have happened and they fell or something. And they thought, well, maybe one of them is hurt and the other one isn't leaving the other one because they don't, want to do that. I remember hearing that too. But the discovery of Libby's clothing caught on roots in Deer Creek upstream from the bridge on Tuesday morning led to a closer search of the thickly wooded area in which they were found, in which the prosecution stated had neither been searched on foot nor in daylight on Monday. And I guess I could see that if they were looking downstream, that's given us a little bit of an answer to that. Now Miss Grace is going to give us all kinds of answers. You should see my pause game. Look at her eyes. She's going to hate me. I better rewind her back before she comes after me. But we're going to watch. This is going to be like the beginning of the trial that Nancy's covering. She's going to cover the first couple of days of the trial. And then she did just put out a new podcast covering the second half already. So we can watch this one tonight, and then I can always come on during the day tomorrow and watch the other one if you guys aren't busy with other trials, because I know there's other trials going on too. So we could always watch it tomorrow night.
Breaking news tonight, the Delphi murders trial.
And don't forget, I don't want to interrupt her too much, but I probably will, because, it's me. But if you guys don't mind just taking a second, hit the like button for your girl. It really helps get my channel out into the algorithm. It'll bring more people in to chat with you guys. Appreciate you.
Finally commences with Libby, just 14, and Abby, 13. Photos of their bodies found, their throats slit. Tears in the courtroom, working over the weekend. Witnesses breaking down on the stand. One witness stating, when I first saw them, I thought they were mannequins. Good evening. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. Thank you for being with us.
As soon as you get into town, it's picturesque.
I've been on that bridge.
Everybody's super friendly.
You're talking about Delphi, Indiana.
It was supposed to be a walk in the woods shared by two friends. Abby Williams and Libby German went to this hiking trail near Delphi's Monon High Bridge.
But there's no way you find that bridge if you're not from there.
When the girls didn't return to the spot where they were supposed to be picked up, their families knew something was wrong.
They thought maybe the girls were hurt. That bridge is treacherous. And they never thought they would hear that the girls were murdered.
Directly to the killer, who may be in this room. We believe you are hiding in plain sight. For more than 2 years, you never thought we would shift gears to a different investigative strategy, but we have. We likely have interviewed you or someone close to you. We know that this is about power to you. And you want to know what we know. And one day, you will.
That day is now. You were just hearing a direct warning from Indiana State Police Superintendent Doug Carter. And
yeah, where the hell's Doug Carter been?
How right he was when he gave that chilling warning. For 2 years, you never thought we would shift gears to an investigative strategy, a new strategy. We have likely interviewed you. And as it turns out, the you to whom he refers was a local pharmacy tech that had waited on Libby and Abby's family for years, even processed their photos for free. How many times do you think he pored over photos, candid photos of those girls, watching them come in and out of the pharmacy? Again, this is Crime Stories. I'm Nancy Grace, and I want to thank you for being with us. The trial has commenced. Listen.
Even though the case of Libby German and Abby Williams' murders has been in the news for years, police have never said how the girls were killed. During his opening statement, Prosecutor Nick McLeland told the jury, "You're going to see the crime scene. It was a gruesome scene. Libby was completely naked. Her throat was cut, blood all over. Abby's throat was also cut."
Joining us at the courthouse is investigative reporter Susan Hendricks. But before I go to her, I want to go out to Matt.
They should have gave him a special spot, though, like a special chair for him to sit in that courtroom.
Matt Murphy, high-profile lawyer, former Orange County homicide prosecutor, ABC legal analyst, and author of The Book of Murder. Matt, thank you for being with us. I would try to warn victims' families about photos that would be introduced into court. And very often those photos would be put up on a slideshow or handed out to the jury. So the victims' families could be prepared. But I don't think there's ever any way to prepare the families of Libby, Liberty, and Abby for what they are about to see, the girls' throats slashed.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's brutal for families. What you have to do as a prosecutor, though, is it's all about maintaining the integrity of the process. You don't want that to become a sideshow, and the jury doesn't miss that. So the family members that can't handle it, you've got to have them sit outside. Because you don't want that to be distracting. You want this jury to make the call based on the evidence and the law, and above all else, you want to make sure that you're avoiding appellate issues at every step because the case is so horrific. And the only thing worse than going through something like this as a family is having to go through this whole process only to do it again because the case gets reversed because of some sort of error.
To Joe Scott Morgan, professor of forensics, Jacksonville State University, and author of Blood Beneath My Feet on Amazon, star of a hit new series, Body Bags with Joe Scott Morgan. Joe Scott, thank you for being with us. One of the last times that you and I dealt with a decapitation or near decapitation that actually went to the jury was the case of course, Nicole Brown Simpson, murdered by former husband, football star Orenthal James Simpson. The degree of blood from a near decapitation or decapitation is overwhelming. What does that mean? That means it will be very difficult to determine if the defendant's blood is somewhere in there. And of course, Joe Scott, in one of his many, many, many confessions.
If I was like hilarious, and I'm totally hilarious, I'd put up my Nancy cardboard cutout, but I'm afraid it'll scare the dog. And she's like laying like this right now, loving life. But she's in there somewhere. I don't even know where she's at, actually. Where the hell are you, Nancy? I know where I put her.
Richard Allen blurted out something to an inmate that nobody else knew, that he had performed the murders with a box cutter.
Not so fast,
what does that mean
Ashley?
to you forensically?
Well, let's just think about the dynamics of a box cutter, the dimensions of it. It's a very shallow blade. It doesn't go very deep. So what does that mean? Well, we've got people throwing around terms like decapitation. Nancy, let me just say this plainly. If we're talking about decapitation with a box cutter, this would have taken a protracted period of time. This is not like using a knife, a hunting knife, for instance, that has a long leading edge. And now, granted, they're sharp, but it would take a protracted period of time. And, I'm more curious right now to hear what the forensic pathologist will say. And that's going to be a big tell here. To give the dimensions of this injury. But I can say this, it would have been a very bloody affair. And the fact that this individual would have gotten out of there and not have been soiled by the blood, that would not have transferred over to their person, is the odds.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on, Joe Scott Morgan. You're right about everything you said. I want to follow up with you regarding the fact that the amount of blood from the jugular vein, from any artery, is going to be immense. And my point is, before we get into the actual forensics of that, what these families are witnessing in court and what that does to them, it would take wild horses to drag them out of the courtroom. So far, they have steeled themselves. Cheryl McCollum joining me, who has been at the courthouse throughout, guys. The Delphi trial has commenced. Cheryl McCollum, forensic expert, cold case investigative research founder, and star of hit podcast Zone 7. Cheryl McCollum, wait a minute. Joe Scott's right, but isn't it true that witnesses observed Richard Allen, positively identified as Richard Allen, wearing the same clothes as the bridge guy? Let's see a shot.
I gotta laugh for a minute. I don't want to laugh. I don't want to laugh like during, her talking about this crime, because it's not laughable, but this is funny. This is so funny right now to me. She has not fallen apart yet. As many times as I've picking her up and putting her down, and look at her face. look at her face. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, Nancy, but you have the best. Every time I pause you, I can't pause you on a good one. She's always got like a shocked look or something on her face. But yeah, the dogs didn't even care. That's the funniest thing too. They don't even care anymore.
Shot of the bridge guy. Now, this is a photo.
Once I hit like 20,000, we'll have to get another one or something.
Taken by the girls just
my mom loved her
before
too, and my
their
dad.
murders. Him, Cheryl McCollum. Isn't it true? Witnesses observed Richard Allen wearing this outfit, leaving, but they thought he was covered in mud and or blood. Cheryl.
Correct. And Nancy, I believe that is the reason that he went to law enforcement and admitted that he was on the bridge during that day and time. He knew he was seen. So he had to go ahead and say, hey, I was there, but this is why I was there. He gave them that reason, that he was looking at fish, checking stocks, whatever. I believe that's absolutely the reason he did it.
And I'll tell you exactly why. We're showing shots right now. Cheryl, you're in the field. You probably can't see them. Shots of Richard Allen. There's the bridge guy. I guarantee you, there is only one reason he grew that horrific looking scraggledy goatee. So he wouldn't look like the bridge guy. He's like, how can I look different? Oh, dear Lord in heaven. That didn't help a thing. Okay, whoa. Okay, so Cheryl McCollum, witnesses see Richard Allen leaving the area covered in what they believe is mud or blood. Yes, no.
Yes, and is headed toward a car that is parked not in the parking lot where somebody would have been that was going to go hiking. He's parked down the road at a abandoned building.
So hold on. Matt Murphy, former prosecutor, veteran trial lawyer, now criminal defense attorney. It's just like Scott Peterson, Matt. What do you do when your client places himself at the scene of the murder? Like Scott Peterson made up one story that he was out golfing, and then ruh-roh, the guy that attended the marina sees his car and his vehicle and his boat at the marina. Then he said, oh, yeah, I was there. He places himself at the scene of the crime. And that's exactly what Richard Allen is doing. He has to place himself at the scene of the crime.
She tore up the Scott Peterson case. Yeah, she was on like a dog on a bone.
You know what's funny about that photo you just showed, Nancy, is that
OJ too.
That you look at they both changed their appearance. Scott Peterson, a lot of people have forgotten, especially recently, he dyed his hair and completely did everything he could to change what he looked like right after the murders when he knew the police were looking for him. And it's almost like they went to the same stylist. You know, Richard Allen grew the same sort of goatee. Now Richard Allen had a lot more time to grow it out, but yeah, it's one of the things that these guys will do. It's like, there are people that saw me, and they'll do what they can to change what they look like without much of a concept of how bad that looks in front of a jury. Arguably, that's what's known as consciousness of guilt, as you know very well. And that's something that the jury, they're not gonna miss that detail.
Guys, it's not the slam dunk many of you think it may be, because a mystery hair was found in one of the victim's hands. It's not Richard Allen's. I'm going to get to that in just one moment. Joining me now from the courthouse, Susan Hendricks, investigative reporter, author of Down the Hill, My Descent into the Double Murder in Delphi. Susan, please explain, who is Jake Johns and what's his testimony over the weekend to the jury?
He is the gentleman, the volunteer who found the clothes of Abby and Libby. And his testimony was during that volunteer search. Again, the search was called off the night before, but volunteers came, and the next morning when they started to search early and the bodies were discovered a little bit after noon, he found clothes, Libby's sneakers, her top.
Eyeballs, I actually take offense to your damn name. I take offense to that, Eyeballs. You know why? Because I only have one eyeball. Just one, not two. So you can't put the balls, the S on the end of mine. It's just a one. So yeah. And yeah, we're showing unalive bot. No, we're not. That would be the dumbest thing to do on the internet. Actually, let me turn my camera on. That would be the dumbest thing I could possibly do for my YouTube career. Are you dumb? Have you not experienced this before?
What we have learned through all of this testimony and hearing at the end of July was the cause of death. And Nick McLeland mentioned that in the opening statement, that Libby had been completely nude, blood all over her neck slashed, sadly, Abby as well. And Abby was in the clothing of Libby, had put her clothes on, Libby's clothes, was ordered to before she was brutally murdered.
4 other girls also saw the man on the bridge that day and described him as kind of creepy.
Witness statements, there is a lot
the
of
eyeball thing doesn't bother me at all.
similarity in what the witnesses said, and they seem to have seen a man.
And a woman says she later saw the man in the bridge video. He was muddy and bloody, she said.
And to me, that would make sense if, like, to be muddy. I think it could have been mud if Abby did go into the water at some point, you know, and maybe he went in after. I don't know.
Now, you just heard the killer state.
And it would be a lot of red
down
stuff
the hill
there too.
He had to have pulled a gun on the girls. The girls then go down the hill, and they actually had the wherewithal to take the video of the man approaching him. Something about him made the hair on the back of their neck stand up, and they started videoing him right there. The girls themselves did this, and they caught his voice saying, "Down the hill." Cheryl McCollum, I'm predicting it'll be a cold day in HELL before Richard Allen utters one word in the courtroom, because the jury can hear, just like you and I can, and compare it to down the hill, down the hill, down the hill, that loop of down the hill that prosecutors made.
100%. Nancy, the other thing about that video, you show the man on the bridge dressed for freezing weather. He is layered in like a sweatshirt and then a jacket. Remember, it was unseasonably warm. Even Abby is in a tank top. So he is dressed not for hiking. He is layered. And I think, again, when you look at the way that he is dressed, you look at the way that the person sounds on that recording, that person is calm. That person is in control. He is in charge. There's no way coworkers, friends, neighbors, folks from high school, and his family don't recognize his gait, his pace of walking and that voice.
Let me go straight back out to Susan Hendricks joining us at the courthouse.
Do you think Kathy, his wife, looks at that and questions, like, could it be him? I mean, she has the sketches to go off of. They're not putting them into court, into trial, but she does have them to go off of. I don't know. She's sticking with him, it seems like. So
You told me about Jake Johns, the volunteer, and all of these volunteers were working through the night with the family. Police, law enforcement had called off the search, but they, the family and volunteers, went back with lights, went out on canoes in the night, all the way through the night, looking for the girls. But Susan Hendricks, who is Patrick Brown?
Patrick Brown is the volunteer who discovered the bodies, and he said that he walked up, and at first he wasn't quite sure of what he was seeing, and he took off his glasses, kind of tearing up, and said, I thought they were mannequins.
Oh, Dr. Bethany Marshall joining me, renowned psychoanalyst, joining us out of Beverly Hills, author of Deal Breaker. And you can see her on Peacock or find her at drbethanymarshall.com. Dr. Bethany, thank you for being with us. You know, that has, I've heard that response from many witnesses who discover bodies. For instance, Connor Peterson, baby Connor, Lacey Peterson's little baby who died when his mother was murdered. His body, after her uterus disintegrated underwater, his body just kind of floated out. It was completely pristine, like one of those little plastic baby dolls. They're kind of shiny that you see, the little naked baby dolls. And the witness that found the body thought it was a mannequin, a baby doll.
that is terrible.
Could that be, or are you
Lacey.
just so conditioned not to expect to find a dead body that your mind goes to a mannequin like this?
Did we just have this conversation? I just talked about this, and I did not watch Nancy. I was watching all kinds of other stuff with Delphi. I saved Nancy with you guys. Is she my mom? I literally just said that. Do people's minds just go to like mannequins? We went through the whole mannequin thing. She just said what I said. So I didn't copy her.
Witness said the jury's hearing from Patrick Brown. He was searching for the girls.
How are you getting back in
and
here?
then he sees
I thought
the girls.
I thought I was out. He's not in here. Never mind.
One completely naked, but he instead thinks they're mannequins.
Nancy, our brains are not wired to see a scene like this and to immediately comprehend what it is. Just like being in an accident, let's say you're walking across the street, a car starts hurtling towards you. Your first thought will be, that car's not really hurtling towards me. There's like a disavowal of the reality of the situation. But sadly, Nancy, when I heard the term mannequins, I thought about the sexually motivated nature of this crime and how he used those girls like dolls. When he says, down the hill, down the hill, down the hill, I hear a menacing, power-hungry, horrible little man whose only way to have control and authority in life is to take a 13 and a 14-year-old. And Nancy, you know these crimes are sexually motivated. So what I wondered was, did he slit their throats to subdue them, or did he torture and toy with them and then slit their throats so that he couldn't ID them? The idea that Libby's clothing was found on Abby suggests a prolonged period of playing with them and toying with them, which breaks my heart that these two children had to experience something like that.
Speaking of what they were wearing, the state did not have to rely upon recollection. One of the last photos of these two girls was, of course, remember they're 13 and 14, a Snapchat photo.
Snapchat photos Libby took on February 13th, 2017 show Abby sitting in the backseat of Libby's sister, Kelsey Siebert's car en route to the trailhead earlier that afternoon. Abby wore a gray zip-up hoodie, blue jeans, and a messy bun. Libby wore a tie-dye shirt. The other photo Libby took that day showed Abby stepping from one wooden railroad tie to another on the high bridge.
Cheryl McCollum, one witness, states that was Jake Johns, one of the first witnesses, not the first witness, but one of the first witnesses, describes how he found the clothing, the clothing we just heard about that was in the Snapchat they took of each other. You're familiar with Snapchat. It is the thing, and it has to be done quickly. There's no message to it. It's just a photo. Instead of texting somebody, you have a Snapchat group or people that you chat back and forth with, and all you do is you send a picture. It's just a picture in that moment, and that's what they did. Now, that's how we know for sure what they were wearing. Cheryl McCollum, we know that Jake Johns described finding the shirt up in a tree.
Nancy, this is a trail. This is a clue as to what went on after he forced them down the hill. So when they are being disrobed and the clothing is found in a tree and a shoe is found in the creek, this is leading you to the homicide scene. So this to me pinpoints and paints a picture of exactly what happened and the order that it happened. This is what he's testifying to.
But why up in a tree, Cheryl?
He possibly could have been hiding it, thinking he could discard it where nobody would see it. Who knows what's going through his head? But Nancy, again, it's telling you this happened at this exact location. The bodies are then found at this exact location. So again, it's like these breadcrumbs to this horrible event, from the shoe to the shirt to the bodies. You know what is happening and exactly where it's happening. That's what's important to me.
I find it very unusual to you, Joe Scott Morgan, that the shirt we've been talking about was up in a tree. Why was it in a tree? Look, is it probative? No. I'm not proving anything.
I think it was caught to a tree.
But I want to know.
I think
why?
Nancy, I think she's, and I will correct her when I think she's getting something wrong. I think that it was like so you know how in creeks and river beds, there's like trees like that are, just, they kind of just fall in the side, onto the side of the river or whatever. I think that's kind of what it was. It wasn't like up in a tree, like up here. It was in near the water towards the bank. I believe the bank of the river is where they found it. Let me know if you guys know more of a more accurate description, but I think that's what I've heard over the years. So,
was it in a tree? Was he taking the clothes and just throwing them? What's your theory?
And I think that it could have been, and I don't know for sure, but let's say Abby did get in the water. What if she were to start taking a little bit of her clothing off, trying to make herself not weigh as much? Or vice versa, and because Libby was naked, but I'm thinking more on the lines of Abby because her jeans were soaked.
I'd like to know how high up in the tree it is. If you're talking about discarding something, accessibility, that sort of thing. And as Cheryl pointed out just a second ago about the creek, Deer Creek, I think it's called, the shoe that was in there. Why not discard everything in that area? First off, you're going to wash away any kind of, most forensic evidence, perhaps. And also, if it's got a flow to it, it's going to take it downstream from where the initial event perhaps happened. So it's a curious finding, but again, I'd have to know physical relationship to the height of it. Is it something that he was attempting to sequester? Here's one other piece to this. I've often wondered, going back to, say, for instance, him working at CVS and looking at these photographs. This guy's got a rich fantasy life. I'm wondering, was he a trophy taker as well? And seems like clothing, he has something to do with clothing, taking time to dress and undress bodies, this sort of thing. Why would you not retain that for your own recollections like a lot of these guys do? It is certainly, I think it is rather probative.
Please join us on our mission to
I'm going to fast forward through this, but if you guys don't mind, take a second, hit the like button. We're trying to get to 100 likes tonight, and then we're going to gift out some memberships. If we don't quite make it to 100, we'll probably still gift out some memberships. But, we're trying to get there. Y'all.
find missing. Catch us in our.
Who were taken, I'll say it plainly. We're talking about perhaps to the point of a partial decapitation here, Nancy.
And they never thought they would hear that the girls were murdered.
You're talking about Delphi, Indiana, a child murder. It's never happened.
Poignant detail that the family told me is that morning before the girls left, the grandma was worried that it might get too chilly. That was her concern. She thought that I'd only be gone an hour and a half. And she kept telling the girls, wear a coat, put on a hoodie. That was the fear. The trial is happening now, today, in a court of law. Straight back.
Do you guys remember doing that? I don't need a jacket. Oh my gosh. If my mom was alive, I would tell her, I am so sorry for every single time I told you I didn't need a jacket. Because I did. I was freezing my butt off. But did I ever tell my mom that? Heck no. She'd be like, take something warm. And I'd be like, no, it'll ruin the outfit. Now I'm like, the outfit can be ruined.
Back out to Susan Hendricks, investigative reporter, joining us at the courthouse. Susan, how does the defendant look?
He looked so much different, Nancy, than he did, of course, in his jailhouse orange clothes. He was in street clothes, khaki pants, a belt, kind of a linen looking shirt, a light shirt with glasses, reading glasses on his head. He looked more healthy than he had since I've seen him, and looked more just engaged, if you will. And I saw that even during jury selection, where he was involved and his attorneys were leaning over Richard Allen and he was pointing to kind of which jurors. It was a team kind of, they worked as a team with Richard Allen to decide who they should pick. I noticed that. And absolutely, he looked so much different than he had even during the hearing. What I saw at the end of July, beginning of August, of course, the deputies very close, arms in handcuffs. Deputies are even in plain clothes behind him. So it's, of course, not to prejudice the jury and seeing Mr. Allen in jailhouse orange, but it is much different. I think he looks better too.
Wow, Susan Hendricks. Okay, really? Reading glasses? I will never forget with the Menendez brothers how the female defense attorney would like pick lint off them and hug them and smooth down their sweaters. I'm like, okay, whatever.
And those glasses were totally in that year. Everybody got glasses that year at the mall. They were fake glasses. They were circular. They were like silver. We all had them.
But we're seeing the same thing happening
Probably
now,
got it from
Cheryl
him.
McCollum, the fawning over Richard Allen in front of the jury.
The jury's going to know it's a stunt. They knew when they saw him in that wheelchair when he couldn't walk and he was emaciated was a stunt. They know that saying that there was a hair found that didn't match him before the trial started was a stunt. This jury is not stupid. They are going to understand exactly what's going on. They are going to look at the evidence and evidence only and render an appropriate verdict. I believe that.
Well, we also see the state is preparing the jury for a lack of DNA. Susan Hendricks joining us at the courthouse. What about it, Susan?
McLeland said, how many of you have seen CSI? And people raise their hand. And how many of you think you need to have DNA evidence for a crime to have taken place to find someone guilty? Who believes that you need DNA evidence? So to me, it was very clear they just don't have that. The bullet is the key piece of evidence, they say. And of course, the confessions, 60 plus confessions were mentioned of Richard Allen. saying to the jurors and during opening statements that they will hear Richard Allen in his own words tell what happened that day, not only why he did it, but how he did it.
Oh, I can't wait to hear that, Susan Hendricks. Now, we already know, let me go straight back to Joseph Scott Morgan, Professor of Forensics, Jacksonville State University, and then I'll follow up with you, Cheryl McCollum, a box cutter. Now, this is interesting. Remember how we railed about law enforcement not releasing what we thought were enough facts to get more tips from the public? Well, in a way, the facts that they did withhold, it was very, very wise, because we apparently have Richard Allen talking about murders were conducted with a box cutter, which was then disposed, he also said, in a dumpster. I think a CVS dumpster, which would have been an area familiar to him because he was a pharmacy tech, right? Now,
Yep.
Can you, as a death investigator, determine if a box cutter was used? Any way to do that?
Yeah, and I think that it's going to be reliant upon our friends that work in the tool mark section, which I know you're familiar with, at crime labs. We might hear evidence from them. It all depends on, and forgive me for being rather gruesome, if that instrument struck bone in particular. We're talking about, they keep using the term near decapitation. Is that possible to make that connection? I guess kind of peripherally it could be. You could say that this could be consistent with a mark left by a box cutter. It's got a thinner blade than, say, perhaps, I don't know, like a K-bar knife, for instance. It's not as robust. So yeah, you could have an indication of that. And also what you're going to be looking at, and this is how these beautiful young girls are going to testify on their behalf in this trial. We're going to hear about these injuries, and we're going to hear about a presence or absence of hemorrhages in these wounds that they have sustained to their neck. And they're going to paint a picture, Nancy, that is going to leave all this other stuff in the dust. Trust me, whether it's Odinism or Thor or all this other nonsense that they keep coming up with, we're going to hear the real scientific facts. And that box cutter is going to be a big part of this.
Guys,
I think that's why there's
pouring
multiple
from the.
I think that's why it's like multiple gashes. And that's
to stand, the jury working
terrifying.
over the weekend. But then here is the problem, the fly in the ointment, so to speak, for the state. A mystery hair. Listen.
During opening statements, defense attorney Andrew Baldwin says some hair evidence is not tied to the defendant, Richard Allen. During autopsy, a hair is found in Abby Williams' hand. That hair has a root and is able to be tested, and the tests showed the hair belonged to a female, not to Abby or Libby, but probably from a relative of Libby's. Baldwin says there should be more tests to find.
It was Kelsey's. It was Kelsey's, because she was wearing Kelsey's sweater. We said jacket, sweatshirt. They said that earlier. So wouldn't it be Kelsey's? They said a living female relative to her. That would be her sister. She probably, I mean, it probably just like was on the jacket, and probably, you know, how hair gets everywhere, and it probably came off onto her hand. I mean, I don't think Kelsey had anything to do with this.
Find out whose hair it was.
Joining me, Cheryl McCollum, forensics expert, who has been at the courthouse and in Delphi throughout this investigation. Cheryl McCollum, when you first hear a mystery hair, it's like, oh, could it be the killer's hair? And if it doesn't match up to Richard Allen, that could equal reasonable doubt. But the rest of that sentence is, it belongs to a female relative of the victims, which you would absolutely expect to find on them through some sort of a transfer. I don't know how. Maybe her hand touched her body. Maybe on the ride over, she was sitting in the car with her hands on the seat and there was a hair there and it stuck to her body or her clothing. So now we know it's a female relative. You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of the hair found in Tot Mom Casey Anthony's trunk. the trunk from which the odor of a
Oh my
dead
gosh.
body emanated.
Where her daughter
Tot Mom's
was,
own mother,
you know.
Cindy Anthony, stated that in the 911 call.
Right.
Then the hair
Nancy,
was found in the trunk, and it could have been one of three people: Cindy Anthony, Tot Mom Casey Anthony, or baby Kelly Anthony. But Cindy and Tot Mom had chemically treated hair, dyed and or frosted. This hair was pristine, which proves that the baby Kelly Anthony had been in that trunk from which the odor of a dead body emanated. So in my mind, in this case, that mystery hair is much ado about nothing.
it's completely nothing. Here's the bottom line. Thanks to Libby, we got a video. There's no woman on that bridge. There's no female voice on that tape. And I'm going to tell you, the biggest thing to me that is going to come very soon are the other 43 seconds on that videotape.
Prosecutor McLeland says there is more than just bullet evidence that ties Richard Allen to the murders of Abby and Libby. Richard Allen himself, in statements to correctional officers, inmates, law enforcement, even his wife, Allen tells them things with details that only the killer would know. McLeland says Richard Allen followed Abby and Libby to the Monon High Bridge and that Allen is, quote, the man on the bridge.
Joining us at the courthouse, investigative reporter and author of Down the Hill, My Descent into the Double Murder in Delphi, Susan Hendricks. We have a surprise. What is it?
Nick McLeland, the prosecutor, said that Richard Allen was interrupted, that he brought the girls and led them down that hill, planned on having his way with them, as he said, and was interrupted. And to me, that stood out. We had never heard that before, and I wonder what will come into play during the trial. Was Richard Allen interrupted by some sort of vehicle driving by? We don't know that, and we will hear that during the trial.
Now, why would the prosecutor, I'm wondering about it, Susan Hendricks, believe that Richard Allen was interrupted in the murders of these two girls? Cheryl McCollum, what do you think?
I think there was possibly items at the scene that were not used. I think that the lack of DNA, possibly fluid, things of that nature would cause them to believe this is clearly a sexual crime that looks as though it was not completed.
You know, I'm very curious because so far we haven't heard about DNA linking him to the scene, and sperm would absolutely be that link. Matt Murphy, a renowned and veteran trial attorney. Matt, as part of discovery, all scientific evidence must be handed over to the defense X number, usually 10 days, but in this case, it's been months prior to trial. And in those scientific reports, that is where we would learn if DNA links back to Richard Allen in any way. Isn't that true?
That's right. And it sounds based on the voir dire, which is the jury selection. It sounds like they don't have that. But it's important to remember, Nancy, in this case, he had a lot of time here. One of them, of course, was found naked. The other one wearing the opposite young lady's clothes. So he had time to do this, which means he also had time to clean up. And one of the fascinating things, I think,
being on that trail, I will say people are very, very few and far between. We went 6 years later. So it's not like people were scared of the trails anymore. You know, people were resuming back to their life, but we saw two gentlemen. They were walking, like we saw one and then we saw the other one like 5 minutes later. And then we did see a couple ladies with a baby, like walking with the stroller. But that's all we saw out there. We were probably out there a good, I would say, a couple hours because we like filmed a little bit, like we filmed our walk and we looked around and stuff, you know.
Think about a lot of the modern cases. We're seeing this with Gilgo Beach, with Rex Heuermann, is that if they're given time, you can get rid of DNA. and he certainly had time here. So there is a reasonable explanation. And plus, remember,
I wonder why he didn't commit another crime after this either. I mean, if he did commit this crime and if he didn't commit another crime that we know of,
given what happened to them, we have a complete absence of DNA. So the logical conclusion of the argument is, well, nobody killed them then, right? So it's one of those things the jury just has to think through. And as long as it's, I think, effectively argued, it's going to be fine. Or at least it should be. I believe the evidence against this man is overwhelming if properly presented.
Well, the defense is certainly making a foray, and they're arguing about the timeline. One thing that's going to be very difficult for them to counter are the alleged confessions. This guy blabbed behind bars. Listen.
After discovering over 60 recorded confessions by the accused killer in jail phone calls to his wife and mother, McLeland believes over a year ago, Allen began speaking about the murders in very specific detail, with a fellow inmate even testifies that Allen revealed to him that he killed the girls with a box cutter, which Allen later disposed of in a CVS dumpster.
I mean, you'd think by now, Dr. Bethany Marshall, that lawyers would tell their clients, don't reveal anything over the phone. I've even had cases where recorders were set up in the walls of a jail, not my jurisdiction. But when you're in jail, that doesn't matter. You do not have any expectation of privacy. You don't need a search warrant to put in a tapping device, like at a grave or hanging outside someone's apartment on the fire escape. You can put a tape recording device there, just like you can in a jail. So why is it when you know Richard Allen has been told, shut the hay up, keep your lips together, he's still talking, and all of those calls are recorded, Bethany?
Well, obviously, the defense has lost control of their client, but what it tells me, a couple of things: he's impulsive, he's profoundly immature. He wants to keep retelling the story because he's changing the narrative again and again to try to justify why he did it. But also he's reliving the glory of the crime. I mean, if you think about the fact that likely this is sexually motivated, he's in jail, he has no access to sex partners. I mean, his fantasy life is probably prolific. And this is probably how he got attached to the girls in the first place, looking at all those photos and at their clothing and sort of developing a fantasy relationship with them. And the only way to continue that, talk about the crime.
Speaking about reasonable doubt, defense attorney Andrew Baldwin says Richard Allen is an innocent man ensnared in an investigation that he says was messed up from the beginning. Challenging the state's timeline, Baldwin says Abby's phone connected to a cell phone tower after Allen had left the trail on February 13, 2017, claiming after 4 p.m. human hands handled that phone. Richard Allen was at home and never came back.
To you, Cheryl McCollum, who has been at the courthouse in the area since the investigation started. Cheryl, what is the defense? Is it based on cell phone data placing Richard Allen elsewhere by 2:15?
That's what they're going to try to show, Nancy. But again, if you look at the totality, that's one aspect. You've got confessions. You've got himself at the bridge. You've got the bullet. You've got the video. You've got the voice. You've got the fact that, to me, you've got somebody that parks away. His car was seen. He's dressed inappropriately for the day. You've got a totality of what occurred here. They are going to be able to paint a picture that he had information only the killer would know. There is no way with that video and that voice that his entire family, his entire friendship circle, every coworker, nobody can identify him. I don't believe that. That's what's coming.
To Susan Hendricks joining us at the courthouse. Susan, I understand that people are lining up in the wee hours of the morning to get into the courthouse. What's happening?
Nancy, the interest in this case is clear, as you see with citizens lining up. People want to know, being part, of course, of Carroll County, and it's being held here in Carroll County. Jurors selected outside of this county And really, you could see the interest. People want to know. I mean, the hearts are in this. There's teal and purple ribbons all around downtown Delphi, aligning the streets here. And people want closure for this. The girls are never coming back, of course, but they want to be part of this because their hearts have been in it from the start.
Susan Hendricks at the courthouse. I'm just thinking about the family who has been in court all day long, listening to excruciating testimony,
And
seeing
seeing pictures.
horrific crime scene photos of the girls nearly decapitated. And it reminds me of what Becky Patty told me when I spoke to her, how she could not even ask when she was told, she was out searching, when she was told they found the girls, she would not let herself ask, are they dead or alive? Listen.
Did you ask any questions? Did you think
Oh,
they
I
were
jumped in a
alive?
car and
Did you think they were alive?
they wouldn't.
Did you ask them?
I went telling. I just asked them to take me to him. I said they found him. I wasn't even asking if they were how they found him. I just said, Libby needs me. You need to take me to her now.
Unable to even ask, are the girls dead or alive?
That's
And this
sad.
whole day, they've been sitting
That's
through
heartbreaking.
those horrific crime scene photos and testimony. We wait and pray as justice unfolds live at the courthouse. We stop now and remember an American hero, Lauren Michael Courts, Detroit PD, shot and killed in the line of duty, survived by grieving mother Lillian and father, a retired Detroit police officer, wife Kirsten, now a widow, and son Darian, daughter Devin.
Oh, that's so sad.
American hero, police officer Lauren Michael Courts.
His last name's Courts. I just noticed that. He was born to be an officer. That's so sad, you know? That's really sad. When I paused it, I thought they were just going to say he had just was, preceding his mom and dad. And I was going to say that's even sadder because he never got the chance to meet someone, but he did. But I don't know, that's sad too. They're always really sad at the end when she does these, like American heroes. And I would never realize how many officers are struck down in the line of duty, really, if it wasn't for Nancy because it's like every single night there's somebody. And it's like, wow. Like, wow. So we have so many. I know I still have a lot of questions and I will have more answers for you tomorrow. Nancy already did another podcast. So it's not up on, it's on her crime stories, like on her Apple podcast, but it's not on her YouTube channel yet. But it does have like a teaser or something on there. It looks like right here.
Why? Joining me from Delphi, Barbara McDonald, who hasn't missed a word of testimony. Barbara McDonald, isn't it true that when the audio is in?
Oh, and Vinny, or one of them guys, I think it was Vinny. He had her on earlier today.
Enhanced. Because remember, Libby is walking along on gravel, and you can the wind is blowing. She's out there in the woods coming down off that trestle bridge, which is really high up. If you take a good look at it, it's up there with tree tops. It's very high up. We visited it. It's way up there.
Very high.
So she's walking along the gravel off this trestle bridge. If you enhance that audio, multiple ear witnesses state that you hear one of the girls saying words to the effect of, does he have a gun? Or gun? He's still there? Or is he still there? That's why they don't want it enhanced.
I listened to that video several times, Nancy, and I really struggled to make out what exactly was being said. In addition to the gravel and the wind that you mentioned, Libby, when she's making that video, is moving her phone up and down, almost like this. And so you don't have one steady shot of the man. You definitely see at the beginning of the video that he is further behind Abby. Abby is looking down at the railroad ties. We all know it's a very treacherous bridge to cross, and you need to pay attention to where you're putting your feet.
Yeah.
And she appears to be doing that. To me,
That was
it
the first,
sounded like
well,
she was asking
this was the first time she went on that bridge. That was her first time crossing it.
Libby if he's still there, if he's still behind her. And towards the end of the video, he absolutely makes up much of that ground and is much closer to her at the end of the video than he is at the beginning of that 42-second video. The video ends right after he tells them down the hill. We did hear testimony and saw pictures of a slide area where the leaves were disturbed at the south end of that bridge going down that hill. It is very steep. I have walked that area myself. I went down on my butt, so you could imagine that perhaps the girls did the same thing.
Would that disturbance of the leaves, Barbara McDonald, be consistent with the girls going down on that side and then being forced to wade across the creek and their bodies being found on the other side?
Yes, so there were two hills they would have gone down. The first part of the hill was described as perhaps 15 or 20 feet down. And then there's a gravel driveway that's a private driveway belonging to one of the homeowners on that south side of the creek. And then there's another hill also about 15 or 20 feet that they would have gone down to be in what was described as sort of a floodplain area closer to the creek. And the state's theory is that that's where Richard Allen was intending to have his way with these girls. Those are the prosecutor's words from his opening statement. And that he was interrupted there, perhaps by that homeowner who would have been driving along that private drive about 3:30 that afternoon, and then therefore crossed the creek with the girls onto Ron Logan's property where they were killed.
Barbara McDonald, tell me again your impressions
for you.
of what you could hear. Did you hear the enhanced version or no?
I don't believe I heard the enhanced version. I heard the original version. You could make out the down the hill spoken by the man. There is only one man in the video that I saw, that 42-second video. But I really struggled to hear what I believe Abby says to Libby about, is he still there? I really listened for the word gun. I even closed my eyes and listened to the video a couple of times, trying to really make out what was spoken. And it is just not very clear. Certainly wasn't clear to me. I think it is open to interpretation, which is why I think the defense wants the jury to be able to hear those words and make up their own mind about what is said.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would want to listen to it if I was a juror. I would want to see it. I would want to listen to it. I'd want to think about it. They did sequester this jury in from another county. So they're all they have is time in their hotel room. So give them the tape. Let them listen to that on repeat, see if they can hear something in the background that maybe no one else has heard. I don't know. See, I'm staying open-minded because I'm thinking, I don't know. I just wish there was more. I wish there was more. We're not really getting a lot. And we don't have Doug Carter here, cheering on the good fight. I feel like, I don't know. He was such a good presence in this case for me anyway. I guess everyone thinks of everybody differently, but I always felt like he made me feel a little better, even if time was going on and on and on, and they weren't, finding anybody. They weren't catching the person who did this. If they've caught him now, we don't know yet. But what I've heard, I have reasonable doubt. It just kills me because I don't want to. Because I want somebody. I want the person who did it, though, who committed this crime. I really want them to be in jail. And if it's Richard Allen, then he needs to be in prison for the rest of his life. But if it's not Richard Allen, then they can't. And I don't think that this jury will convict. I don't know. They seem like they're asking questions and stuff, so that's good. What is it? Time to go? Okay. What is you just want to bother me, or? Well, your sister's over there behind the chair. She's like hiding. Yeah, Faith, it's like I want to hear more. So tomorrow I'll be on. I'll either do a day live and I'll try to cut in between like on a break or something, because I know a lot of trials are going on right now. But if not, we can cover it tomorrow night. So I do love Nancy myself. What do you Mia? I'm just petting my dog. If you're wondering what I'm doing, she'll nudge my hand if I see. If I stop petting her. You have the grossest breath though, Mia. We gotta do something about that. She smells like tuna or something. She's got the worst dog breath I've ever smelled in my life. She smells like cat food or something. That's what I tell Vince all the time. I'm like, she stinks. Sorry, you need some greens. We need to get you some there, Mia. What is going on with that bed? Why are you guys keep smelling it for? They're just looking at each other like, I'm just like, what? You don't want to sit there? Oh, that's where she's been sitting all night. I don't know. They're weird. They're all weird. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff up on Twitter, but I will say someone said that there was a bit of a spoiler for the night. I guess there was the people in court today, they were the witnesses that were the ones that allegedly saw Richard Allen the day of the murders. Well, it says bit of a spoiler for the live tonight. There's not one in-court identification of Richard Allen by any of the 3 eyewitnesses that believe they saw Bridge Guy on 2/13/17. So if they come out and they say they don't know if it's him, man, this case might have just got too old or something. Eyewitnesses, they don't know. And we'll hear more from Sarah Boone for sure. For sure. Oh, that woman got 7 hours out of me today. I was exhausted. Judy, my cat thinks he's a dog. He'll eat anything you give him, usually. Like anything. He's weird. He's the weirdest cat I've ever had. He's my baby, though. Really? Neither side would ask if RA was Bridge Guy. Too scared of a no or a yes. Oh, wow. Oh, we did it. 102 likes. Look at that. Thank you, guys. We was trying to make it to 100, and we made it to 102. Look at that. Don't you be taking your likes away, neither. Why did they say he did it, though? Yeah, that's the one thing. The confessions are what is like, I'm having a hard time. Why would you confess? And to your wife and to your mother, like to the people that did. Thanks, Delphi. But I do know coerced confessions are a real thing, but he did like 40 or 60 of these. Like if they can show a substantial amount of him, like of times of him doing it. I've only seen the fake, paperwork that's going around. It's like fake Richard Allen, because they can't have anything. They can't take any pictures or have any of the exhibits. So, but yeah, he confessed to his wife. That's the thing. Like, oh, and your mom and his mama. Like, maybe my mom, I'll probably confess. Yeah. Yeah. If I did some crazy stuff, that's the first person. If she was around, that's the first person I would tell, actually. Because she'd help me. I mean, she's a mom, you know what I mean? I'd be like, Mom. She'd be like, what do I need to do? Just kidding. She wouldn't help me if I did something really bad. But if I did something that wasn't so bad, she probably would. And I'm glad that they do have him out of that prison. They needed to have him in jail. I don't think that it was necessarily like them. I don't think that it was necessarily like them. I don't think that it was necessarily like them. I don't think that it was necessarily like them. I don't think that it was necessarily like them. I don't think that it was necessarily like them. I don't think that it was necessarily like them. I don't think that it was necessarily like them. I don't think that it was necessarily like them. I don't think that it was necessarily like them. I don't think that it was necessarily like them. I don't think that it was necessarily like them. I don't think that it was necessarily like them. I don't think that it was necessarily like them. I don't think that it was necessarily like them. I don't think that it was necessarily like them. I don't think that it was necessarily like them. I don't think that it was necessarily like them. I don't think that it was necessarily like them. I don't think that it was necessarily like them. I don't think that it was necessarily like them. I don't think that it was necessarily like them. I don't think that it was necessarily like them. I don't think that it was necessarily like them. I don't think that it was necessarily like them. I don't think that it was necessarily like them. I don't think that it was necessarily like them. I don't think that it was necessarily like them. I don't think that it was necessarily like them. I don't think that being mean and like being like vindictive and putting him in a prison to be vindictive. I don't think that at all. I don't think that they thought he was going to be in there that long. Like, because usually you're in jail for like up to a year, maybe 2. And before you know, you go to trial and you go to court, or you go prison, or you go home. I think they thought he was only going to be in there maybe like a year. And then it was like 2 years. And then it was 3 years. And then it was 4 years. And then it just got out of control. You know, he was just in there forever. So I'm glad that they do have him in a jail. And I think the reason why they did that was so that he would have extra security. Because I think at the time, like, I mean, this case is huge. But when he first went into jail, I mean, I think that we were all wondering about if he was going to make it or not. You know what I mean? Because he didn't look good. Then he started confessing. Then he wasn't eating. Then when he confessed, he threw his tablet down or something and he broke it. So then, because he said he didn't want to like talk to anybody, he was like, I don't want to talk to anybody about like what I just talked about, like what confessed to or something. And that was the thing back in April. Well, there's Nash. That's okay. Well, I don't know, man. It's crazy. It is crazy. Yeah, 60 times. I had to paint a cabinet. That sounds like fun, actually. I'm not good at painting stuff. That's okay, Mr. Rosebud. You can always go back and rewind. I got Nancy out tonight. Middle of the stream. It was pretty funny. Oh, Nancy. She's looking better than ever, you know? He wasn't even arrested till 2022. Maybe we need to do like we'll start out with this and then we'll see what goes from here. Oh, look at this pretty picture. This is like, man, this is something that you need to see, I guess. Look at this. Day 4 of the Delphi murders trial is complete. This is the view right now from the courthouse lawn as I prepare for tonight's Delphi debrief. Look at that. It almost looks like a double rainbow. It is a double rainbow. Do you see the one on top? Right here? Or am I just seeing things? That's a double rainbow. You can see like the one above it if you look really closely, like above like the light pole. It looks like it anyway. Wow. Beautiful. I never get to see him. It does look like a double one, doesn't it? I don't think he even realized that's a double rainbow. I wonder if I should comment. Like, that's a double rainbow, my friend. Like, that's pretty. Wow. You know, wow. This is a weird case. Stella, she's officially not here yet. But one of these days, I'm going to be carrying this around CrimeCon, trying to chase down Nancy Grace. Mark my words. If I have this, how can she say no? How can she say no? I'm going to wear a blue blazer too, just like her. It is a double rainbow. Yeah. That's true. Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, Sarah Boone sucked the life right out of me today. I actually had a migraine right before I came on. I didn't know if I was going to have to like make the live later. I did not want to do that to you guys. I was just sitting here like for 30 minutes. I had my eyes closed and I was like, you're good. You're good. And I was just like rubbing my eyes. I think it was because of the 7-hour live today, looking at the screen and stuff. I have to take breaks and I don't realize that I have to take breaks, you know, because I only have one eye. So I got to rest her every once in a while, you know. Well, I'm going to jump off here. Tomorrow we'll do Delphi. We'll do some more with this case. And I really want to cover Sarah Boone's last hour of her zipping up the suitcase and stuff, because we missed her zipping up the suitcase. I was like, what? I watched for 7 hours through 40 breaks. I don't know how many breaks they took today. I should go back and count. Like, seriously, like, how many y'all think they took? 7? 8? I was like, if they take another break, I'm going to drive to Florida myself and try the case myself. I didn't know we didn't get to see that part. True crime, I had to peace out by 5 o'clock. I mean, we were on from 10 o'clock in the morning. I was like, I thought court would be over at 5. I had things I had to do. I was like, I got to leave, guys. And so that was right when, like, right after I must have clicked off, like right after I left. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? You know, like, because I just wanted to see her with the suitcase and all the things, you know, I just wanted to. Oh, her hair is just, it's never going to help. She looks like a mushroom, little mushroom head. Yep. Oh, Raven, that's okay. I do that on every live I'm in all the time. And then I'm like, shit, I'm behind. I'm like, and then I'm like, man, I feel stupid, you know, like, and you guys shouldn't feel stupid because you shouldn't. But as a creator, I feel like it's more like, I feel like everyone knows me when I go into a chat. They'll know me because, like, you know, people know me in the chat. And I'm like, oh man, now I look really stupid because I'm talking about something that happened 5 minutes ago, but I do it every time. I think somehow YouTube does that too. I don't know. But there's Nancy. She's in her best today. So thank you guys all for being here. I appreciate it. She didn't have any no emotion. Yeah, she didn't have any emotion the whole day. That's offensive to mushrooms. They should have let her have someone do her hair. But what were they going to do? Cut it, shave it? You couldn't do nothing with that. And if you were a hairstylist and that was your client, I'd be mad. I'd be like, I ain't doing it. And then did you see what they dressed her in? The skirt with the long blazer, I'm like, oh, you shouldn't have let Mr. Evans pick out your stuff, honey. He must not have got the right measurements. Oh, that's who she was smiling at all day. Maybe. That's funny. I did. Yep, I gave out memberships. I gave out 5 memberships earlier. It was like right before we hit 100 likes. I went ahead and gave them out. I was like, we're close. It was like 97 likes or something. I don't know who got them, though. I didn't look over at the thing. I'll have to look. They could have done a headband, yeah. Something. She could have done that, though. Not a headband, but I mean, they could work with things in jail. Oh, if they would have asked her to get in the suitcase, I would have laughed. I just would have. I think she might be squeaky. She might be the man in the new relationship she's going to be in, because she's going to be in a new relationship soon. No more Jorge. She's going upstate. I don't know what prison they're going to take her to. Oh, I don't even want to know. I don't even want to know. I don't even want to know, as long as it's far, far away. As soon as she's done in court, I don't want to hear her voice ever again. Don't want to see her. She doesn't bother me as much as Letitia Stout. Now, after Letitia's trial, I am still like scarred from that trial. That little boy, what he went through was horrific in his life, in his afterlife. Letitia's voice, the way she just lied. That one I cannot listen to. I can't listen to her. I cannot do it. I wish I could, because a lot of really great creators like cover her, and I want to go in there and like hang out in their live and say, hey, everybody, but I can't listen to her voice. Sarah, I think Sarah is guilty as guilty can be. Yep, I think she's guilty. And I think that we read through their prior DV incidences. There's only one on paper from 2019. So you can't, all these other things that she's naming and stuff, it's not going to do her any good. There's no report to back it up like that. And I'm surprised that the lawyers the state let her actually say those things without her being like, wait a minute, you have no evidence of this. So, but her defense lawyer is terrible. I would never want him to defend me ever. Like, I would rather do it myself. I'd rather do it myself. Yeah. She just wishes she could be back at that apartment, that townhome, drinking out of that spigot many days, many moons ago. But thank you guys for being here. I'll be back on tomorrow, probably during the day or at least tomorrow during the night. But you'll probably see me during the day sometime. So don't forget to have your bell icon on. And that way you're alerted to all my content. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We're trying to grow over here, right? We're trying to grow big. But we do talk true crime daily. So if that is something you're into, don't forget to subscribe. If you're into the craziness of YouTube, go check out my channel, Unfiltered with Tanya, because we check out crazy stuff over there for the most part. That's what we're doing. So thank you guys for being here. I'll see you guys all tomorrow. Have a wonderful night. Bye, guys.